So there is a woman named Martha Beck. She says, our plain old lizard brain sometimes has fears that if we were honest with ourselves, they would sound very different than our stories. The stories come from the ego. And then the lizard brain fear, she says, is when we tap into our primitive fears. And she says that, she says this, and I feel it's something very important because it frees up the energy and information bond. So there's energy in not accepting this. So we have to come up with a story. And then the story, which is not real, takes energy to perpetuate. So, I mean, it's not exactly not real. It's just not the real reality. So below the story is a lot of trapped energy. When we get below the story, we can now free up that energy and have information that could be unscrambled and sorted into new, clear thinking. So she says some examples that people don't want to say. And I'm going to say a person says they want a divorce, but they're afraid people will judge them because their marriage is a failure. So they act out in different ways to avoid this fear. The next is someone who goes into a career they hate because they were focused on money, but then are miserable and afraid to quit. Another could be feeling small and powerless in most of life, so making themselves feel powerful by attacking people who are defenseless. Or somebody who wants to succeed at something that they love, but the thought of having to compete and possibly fail is so terrifying they never start. And there was another one, which I didn't write, but something about she has a woman who has a freeloading daughter, adult child, and she's so afraid to tell her to please move out because she's afraid of being screamed at. Okay, then I thought, let me look at this, because a lot of times the way in which I tell myself a story is because of being in compliance. So I was raised in a household where compliance was very important. My father wanted everything his way all the time. So I went to a 12-step meeting, and it said that codependency is rooted in people who are extremely loyal, remaining in harmful situations too long. But in recovery, one is committed to safety and leaves situations that feel unsafe or inconsistent with my goals. And I feel like once we get under the fear, we can start to really, the fear of the truth. Once we face the truth, we don't have to be unsafe anymore. We could be free. And someone told me, why don't you start writing in this line of growing about what your new coping mechanisms are? And so I realized one of them is not letting others get me angry. This is the buttons. I might have mentioned this in other videos, but removing other people having access to pushing my buttons. Realizing many people are in love with me and have crushes on me, and not focusing on, let's say, a user who rejects me because I'm not available like a vending machine. Filling up with God's love and realizing everyone's a child of God, often looking for the parent they never had. Sharing and sharing love from that place. Recognizing that I need that nurture, warm feeling, being scooped up, treasured, warm and accepted and wanted, and giving it to myself and sticking close to people who feel like that. This may sound simple, but hugging trees, it's been a real coping mechanism nowadays. Seeking ways to give, share, help, support. Recognizing I have the upper hand, truly. Not taking it personally or getting attached to anyone as if I'm dependent on them. At best, they're familiar, because if I'm going to someone who can't give me what I want or need, or can't validate, accommodate, or please me, it's because they don't have the power to. So I believe that if someone could, they would. And people just make up these stories about why you don't deserve it because they don't have it to give. Realizing also I can't fix someone, particularly a man, to love me. He needs to love himself and care for himself and his inner child on his own. That's the only way he'll be able to love, women and children. And then there was a man who gave me 5 compliments, and it mattered to me. I didn't realize I was in conversation with him for a couple hours. In the end, I said, can you give me 5 compliments? And he said, you're smart, you're open, you're hopeful, you're perceptive, and you're real. And I love that. And I realized I could have asked for that in the beginning. He didn't know to come with positive feedback, but once it became a thing, he was able to do it. There's an account on Instagram called IYA, if AYA, AYE, sorry, okay. IYAIFAYEMI healing. Ia if IMI. I don't even know if it stands for something, whatever. Your inner world is shaped by your mother. Therefore, how you treat yourself is how your mother treats you. And I thought about this for a long time. The way I treat myself, how do I treat myself? And even the word treat, Like, what's a treat for me? And then your perception of your outer world is shaped by your father. Therefore, how you let the world treat you is how your father treats you. And I was thinking about what gets under the radar? One thing is carrying other people's projections. My father needed me to carry his projections for so long. He also didn't care about my reality, didn't care about my inner world. He never was curious or asked questions. He didn't admit he doesn't know. There wasn't room for me to have my own narrative. And Ayelet Polanski, and I'm going to bring this into an important topic, which is about soulmates, because we carry this stuff in when we're looking, in my opinion, for a match. So in Kabbalah, Ayelet Polanski says, every soul... Oh, I want to go back for a second and do the mother one. Right, so saying my father... I forget what I said now. Projection, carry his projections and no curiosity of my inner world or legitimizing my narrative. And also he couldn't hold space for my emotions. He took them like an attack. Oh, and he wanted my love, but didn't want me to feel loved. And he was stingy and neglectful and depriving and betrayed my trust and abandoned me when I needed him most. And he wasn't, present or grateful. Respectful. I don't mean honor respect. I mean just basic respect. Okay, now my mom. Before we do what we're up to with Ayelet Polanski. So, yeah, my mom. A lot of scrutiny. Not warm. I felt like she was numb or dissociated with me. Like, I felt resented, like a burden. And I actually felt that way. My dad, saw me as, my dad saw me as bad and poisonous and, and a cause for suffering, for his suffering, and a liar. And then my mother, like scrutiny, not warm, or would say cold. Numb, dissociated, I felt resented, like a burden. self-conscious. Like, I felt like I felt like she was repulsed in some way by my body. I really didn't feel wanted. I felt very punished. I felt like she put her anxiety on me. Like, I felt like I was a failure. Like, she would always get worried. Like, everything I did was too late, or I wasn't enough, or I felt like a failure. She said I was a bad seed once. She treated me like something to control. I guess that's what it means by anxiety. As something to control and force. I never felt like we collaborated. And overpower. And like I was always wrong. And like she wanted to break my will. Anyway, so Ayala Polanski says, so I highly recommend you do that practice. Okay, Ayala Polanski says, in Kabbalah, every soul that enters this world arrives as a fragment of something larger. A single flame that was once part of a greater fire, it's called Neshama Klali, a collective soul, is the teaching that some souls share a root. Before the world was formed, before you took your first breath, there were souls whose light were woven together with yours. But here's the deeper understanding. The reunion of two souls who share a root is not a personal event. It's not just a personal event. It's a cosmic one when a zivug, a divine pairing, occurs when two fragments of the same light find their way back to each other. A unification happens that sends ripples through all the world. Your love is not just yours. It's a tikkun, a repair, a piece of creation becoming more whole. This means that finding your person is not about it's not about luck. It's not about timing. It's not about being in the right place. It's about becoming. The Kabbalistic tradition teaches that we draw our zivug toward us by doing the inner work of becoming who we were always meant to be. The clearer you become, the more aligned with your own soul, the more recognizable you are to the one who carries your light. Your soulmate is not a stranger you're waiting to meet. They're a familiarity you're waiting to remember. The Kabbalistic masters teach that when two souls who share Neshama Klalis finally find each other, it doesn't feel like a beginning of something new. It feels like coming home to something ancient, something that was always yours. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone who recognizes the completeness that was always ready, that was always already there. And that's the Neshama Klalis, that the love Hashem encoded into the architecture of your soul that's the love that Hashem encoded into the architecture of your soul before you ever arrived here. We'll stop here.